So, David, I hear this new show coming up, the Fortean Slip.
You know, I don't know where these douchebags are coming from.
Steve Alcorn's a fine investigator. What he's doing with this Chris dude, I have no idea.
Christopher York is fucked up. The dude is seriously fucked up.
Put that on the show.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
You harassed me to watch this piece of shit.
And ultimately a piece of shit it is.
And fucking listen!
I was going to make a lemming noise.
I was a fucking lemming.
I don't know. How do you explain those kind of things?
Aliens are actually time travelers from the future.
So don't worry, in the future, we're still ignorant bastards.
This show is going to be fucked up.
I'd like to tell you all this show is going to be good. But let's face facts. Hi, and welcome to the Fortean Slip. I am your petty bitch host. With me, a man with yet another broken computer, Mr. Steve Alcorn.
Oh, is this where I chime in and say hello, Chris?
No.
Oh.
Also joining us this evening from bigfootcrossroads.com, is it?
It is.
Mr. Matt Knapp.
.com.
.com. For all your Matt Knapp needs. If you're
I took a Matt nap once.
we all have.
Once you go Matt, you never go back.
That's debatable. Tonight, it is episode 8. What the fuck are we calling this goddamn thing?
I like that title.
Yeah, well, I can't use that one, though. We'll call it, due to technical difficulties, we didn't watch The Night of the Living Dead. Instead, we decided to do a Halloween episode.
Okay.
I like it. Kind of wordy.
It has a certain, ring to it, though. We never have technical difficulties.
We'll call it the
Fortean Slip.
We'll call it the Ripped Off Pagan Holiday episode.
Sam Haines our way.
Sam Haines our way. They fit comfortably.
Snug and supportive.
And they touch me in a very special way.
But still breathable.
So that I can have that feeling like I have space. Yet, I'm confined.
It's very deep.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So we're completely unprepared.
Totally.
We were gonna,
Which is so off kilter for what we normally do.
Unlike our other shows where we're completely 100% prepared.
Where we're completely on fucking topic at all times. Yeah, we were supposed to watch The Night of the Living Dead, and that didn't work out so well. So we decided to...
It worked out for the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, because you dropping in and out every fucking 5 minutes was great.
And lagging like 10 seconds behind.
Yeah, it was like watching a hooker's head behind the dashboard.
You have some experience in this?
Well,
only from afar.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If he's watching it from behind the dashboard, then he's not involved in it.
But it's that time of the year when ghosts, ghouls, goblins, things that go bump in the night.
Bacon.
Bacon.
Things that get bumps in the night.
Things that get sores in the night. Or from activities that they do in the night. We are fucking just so off kilter.
No, we're not.
It's not even funny.
This will be our greatest show ever.
The greatest show. This will be the greatest thing we've ever done.
This is not the greatest show ever. This is only a tribute.
Okay.
We couldn't possibly do the greatest show ever.
Why is that?
This is not the greatest show in the world. This is just a tribute.
Whip crack goes the swampy tail. So, Halloween.
Halloween.
I'll steer this bitch right into the nether.
Halloween. Michael Myers, what a great character.
A fantastic movie franchise. Although I was a bit confused about, what was it, part 2 or 3? Where it was about a mask factory and hypnotic televisions.
Yes, part 3 was way off fucking kilter.
Kind of went off base with that one.
1 and 2, like, 1 in particular, great movie. 2...
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
2, good in its own right, a little bit different than this.
A little bit.
One. But all takes place within the same night, which I always thought was really cool. And I can remember me and my friends when I was young, right around Halloween, just about every year, grabbing those 2 movies, and later on the subsequent movies after 3. And, like, just having marathons of fucking Michael Myers movies.
Yeah. Which would now be like a 3-day event.
Yeah, at this point. But the original movie was, you know, John Carpenter's Halloween was just a great movie.
Well, if you take the 3 big ones, as I call them.
The 3 big ones?
The 3 big ones. If you can take all 3 of the big ones, you're more of a man than me.
Is that John Holmes, Peter North, and Ron Jeremy?
It is. Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and Freddy Krueger.
The Holy Trinity.
I consider those the Holy Trinity of horror. And I think that, you know, Michael Myers is the most badass.
How is that new... Have you seen the new Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yes.
Is it any good?
I liked it. Some people may not, but I enjoyed it. Definitely darker. You didn't have the comedic presence, you know, that was there with Robert Englund.
Right.
But story-wise, it was definitely modernized, I'll say.
Right.
I mean, like, you wouldn't have had a movie that was that dark back when they originally made it.
Right. And I mean, the original movie had some pretty dark scenes in it.
Right.
So.
For the time. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't...
Steve, what did you think about it?
You may be surprised to know. So I haven't seen that movie yet.
I am... I'd throw in there... I don't know... I'd want, like, Pinhead in there. Hellraiser's, like, one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So, I don't know, I have a hard time with that one. Being like the Holy Trinity.
Hellraiser's great, but you know, Pinhead's not alone. I mean, he's definitely, you know, like the lead or whatever, but you got the other Cenobites, and you know, it's the puzzle box and all that, and.
But I mean, I
don't consider the Hellraiser movies the same type genre, you know, horror / film.
I am happy to know that supposedly there's a remake of the original Hellraiser on the table, with Clive Barker writing it, which I hope winds up being a decent film.
As do I, because they have really gone downhill.
Oh yeah, one was in space? It was like the science fiction Hellraiser.
Why do they do that? Why do they put them in space?
I have no fucking idea.
I mean, like Jason X, you know, like Jason goes to space.
Jason goes to space.
How does the corpse of a maniacal killer end up in outer space? Who does that?
All right, hold on, Steve. Have you seen a fucking horror movie?
Attack of the Mushroom Men. I've seen that.
Attack of the Mushroom Men.
You've never seen that?
No.
Oh, it's like one of those cheesy like 1950s horror flicks. It's great.
In which inanimate mushrooms came to life and hopped across the room.
No, they were like it was almost like Night of the Living Dead, where they were like zombie by mushrooms.
But
they were mushrooms.
Yeah, and then there was like Tomato Men too, in another movie.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
You know, like Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Those movies she used to play, and then there was like the Friday night horror flicks. They were really cheesy movies.
On USA?
No, it was like I don't remember which network played them, but they were, you know, like a local thing. But it was really fun to watch.
Do you like Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
Right, that kind of stuff. Or, you know, Santa Claus versus the Martians, that kind of stuff. Yeah, those are the kind of movies.
But I mean, I know around this time of year, when I was younger, me and my friends always got together. We'd find somebody's house where the parents were gone, and we could all just go there. So we'd find somebody with a car, all get a bunch of horror movies, and just snacks, drinks, and just sit for like days and watch horror movies. And it was,
I can still do that.
And it was fucking great.
I've
still
seen Little Shop of Horrors.
I can't do it like I used to. I can sit down and watch, you know, a good, you know, 3 or 4 maybe horror movies in a row type marathon, hang out. But I can't do it like I used to. Just sit there and watch and watch and watch and watch and like do nothing but for just, you know, a couple of days. It just it's draining. But it was fun back then. It was a great time, you know, because I always look forward to the, you know, this time of year when I'd see like not just some of the really good horror movies, but like the really cheesy shit ones like fucking Puppet Master and Doll Man.
The Reanimator.
Yeah, you know, all that shit. Fucking just horrid shit. But now
my grandmother was into those things.
Oh no.
She loved
Is this
Here we go. Here we go. Your grandmother was into the horror movies, you say?
Yes, she loved the you know, the ones that you just mentioned. In fact, when she died, those were among the titles. I had all the VHS tapes, but I gave them to my daughter because I don't get into the horror genre as much as you guys do.
So you gave them to your young daughter?
Well, she's an adult.
Oh.
She can handle them. You know, she loves horror flicks. So, but they were all like the 60s, 70s, 80s horror flicks. The only things I kept was like Alfred Hitchcock and stuff like that because I like that stuff. But yeah, it wasn't, you know, I used deodorant story, but I'm sorry, I can't have those every week.
Can't hit him out of the park all the time, huh, Steve?
Well, the fact that your grandmother was into like the Puppet Master is pretty funny.
Yeah, she loved that shit though. So, you know, for Christmas we bought her horror flicks.
Wow.
But she was,
Here, Granny.
She was
I piss on your grave. Merry Christmas.
She was technologically behind, so you had to try to find VHS tapes for her. She couldn't figure out, you know, the DVDs, but she did eventually. But it was hard for her to figure out how to do the DVDs. But she eventually got satellite TV, and so, you know, what's the network to play all the horror flicks on? Chill, I think it is.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah, that's what her TV was usually programmed to. That and Matlock, of course. You know, whatever channel had Matlock.
Well, they do go hand in hand.
Chill and
Of course.
Murder, She Wrote.
Well, yeah, and In the Heat of the Night. That was my granddad's favorite.
What's the worst horror movie you guys have seen?
Well, I'd have to say Attack of the Mushroom Man. It's pretty bad.
The worst? Oh, God. I'd have to say the horror movie that I most recently saw that had the least amount of payoff at the end was a movie called, I think it's called Yellow Brick Road, and it was on Netflix, and it was like one of those, I want to say it was one of those, you know, like 10 films to die for, you know, that they promote every couple of years or whatever. And I've seen a couple of those, and they were really good. I enjoyed them a lot. So I sat down and watched this one, and it was like the whole movie was fucking great up to the end. Like it kept me like completely enthralled. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? What is this? What you know, why? What? And then you get to the end, and you're like, huh? And there's no payoff whatsoever. But as far as like just totally bad horror movie that I've seen, oh God, I've seen so many. I'd have to go with like Doll Man versus like the Puppet Master fucking movie. Like that was the most awful thing I think I've ever seen.
Battle of the Death between two pedophiles. Mine would definitely be the two go-to movies I always had in my collection. And guys out there know what a go-to movie is. It's like, I put this in, yeah, I'm getting it. And one was Prophecy, not the Christopher Walken one.
I was just going to ask that.
No, this one was about...
Hello! I'm an angel. I come down, talk to you. I stand on a chair.
I've opened up the box, haven't I? No, this one was about a paper mill that polluted waters, which caused a bear to become mutated and randomly attack people.
True story. I saw a bear in the woods. It's crazy.
And then the other one is called Ghosts That Still Walk.
Ghosts That Still Walk.
And you will be hard-pressed.
I have never heard of either of these movies.
You can find Prophecy, but Ghosts That Still Walk, good luck on finding that one.
Yeah, I've never...
It was so horrible that even though I owned it for approximately 10 years of my life, I still can't tell you what the movie is about.
Wow, that's awesome.
Like, there's a mummy in a cave, and an old couple on vacation in an RV.
Oh, wait, I take it back. Yellow Brick Road was not the movie with the fucking worst fucking payoff recently. And Matt, you and I talked about this movie, I think, recently. Insidious. Didn't we talk about that?
We did.
Was that movie not...
True indeed.
Was that movie not, like, just bad?
It was, in fact, Insidious.
Yeah, like, that was... I take back the Yellow Brick Road, because Yellow Brick Road at least had me enthralled during the movie, up until the end. Insidious, I was like, why did I hit play on Netflix?
Yeah, Insidious was trying to be what all those other movies were.
Right. And everybody told me it was good. They were like, oh, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I heard the same thing, which led me to believe that most of the population out there is idiots whenever it comes to horror movies.
And The Ring. The Ring did not scare me One fucking bit.
Do you know whenever The Ring came out, they actually sent out random videotapes to different retailers as like a viral marketing campaign?
No, I did not.
Yeah, a buddy of mine who has a local comic book store received one of the videos at the comic book store. And it just said, you know, like, do not watch this movie if you want to live, and, you know, stuff like that.
That's great.
Which I always throw those movies in, by the way.
Immediately. I stop whatever I'm doing.
I tempt fate, Matt.
Yes, absolutely.
So what movie scared you the most?
Scared me the most?
Sure. What did you find the scariest?
Probably Titanic. Or the remake.
Why did I think I was going to get a serious fucking answer from you?
Funny enough, another DiCaprio flick, that remake of Romeo and Juliet. Like, what was that about?
Maybe I should rephrase my question. What was your favorite horror flick of all time?
Oh. See, that's a tougher question than what's the worst, because, I mean, I categorize them in all these different areas. I mean, you've got American Werewolf in London is a great one. The original Poltergeist series is great.
That was good, yeah.
Normally I would always go to Poltergeist.
Not a Carolina's in the television set.
Yeah. Now, granted, looking back on it, it's like, okay. And then that other one, you know, later on, whenever the little girl was about to die, and they were staying in like an apartment building or a hotel or something, that one kind of lost it for me. And I love The Shining. The Shining's great.
That one scared the shit out of me. I was pretty young when I watched it the first time, though.
I'm a huge Creepshow fan.
Creepshow was great.
Like,
Find a friend, Harry!
Yeah, like, Creepshow was great.
The one that scared me the most when I was a kid was Amityville Horror. That scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. But I was pretty little when I watched it. So, my uncle made me watch it. I still haven't watched it since, though. Because it scared the shit out of me.
See, I was one of those little kids that was fascinated by the industry. Like, I grew up wanting to be a special effects and makeup artist. So, like, horror movies never really scared me. Like, I don't really recall being frightened by a movie. Now, granted, maybe events that happened around a movie would scare me, but the movies itself never really bothered me. I didn't have, like, nightmares or anything.
Well, just the idea of what happened, allegedly, you know, in the Amityville Horror scared the hell out of me. Not the actual movie itself, obviously.
The book scared me more than the movie.
Well, I've never read the book.
I read the book after I'd seen the movie. I can't even remember how old I was now. I was in my teens, but that book was freaky to read.
But as a young kid, I was, you know, still under the impression that, holy shit, that happens? That kind of thing happens, you know? So, and then, you know, I was a little bit older when I first watched Poltergeist, so I was prepared, you know, okay, this is just a movie. Maybe this kind of thing might happen, but it didn't scare me like Amityville Horror did. My sister still is scared by Amityville Horror. She still won't go anywhere near it. So, because my uncle made us watch that thing when we were kids. So funny.
Scarred you for life. Watch it!
Kinda. I'm going to have to watch it again just to see what scared the shit out of me, but it was, it was a traumatic event.
When I was a kid, I'd have to say my favorite horror movie, which I watched a lot, was Silver Bullet. Which was
I don't believe I've ever seen
which
that one.
I thought was a cool, you know, in retrospect, if I watched that movie now, I'd be like, oh my dear God, But there are some scenes in that movie that would still hold up, like when they find the kid dead with the kite, and there's blood everywhere. Just that scene was just pretty gruesome.
Or whenever Uncle Dax Rushlow comes over to babysit.
That's right, Gary Busey himself, a.k.a. Dax Rushlow.
Yeah, I love Silver Bullet as well.
Yeah, it's
another great one.
It's a good movie.
And I don't know.
I love the Exorcist. I mean, that movie was pretty groundbreaking for its time, and it still holds up. I can watch that movie today and still enjoy it just as much as the first time I saw it.
I recently watched The Conjuring and Mama.
Mama?
Yeah. And Mama is pretty creepy.
Mama. I haven't heard about
The CG ghost effects aren't that great, but they're still creepy. And it's got some definitely creepy parts in it. The Conjuring was pretty neat. It was about what was it, the Warrens that did the Amityville case, I believe.
No, I'm not.
The people who researched it.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, come on, guys.
Sorry.
It's a possibility. I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen the Amityville movies.
We're talking about a book I read when I was in my fucking teens, dude.
All I remember is it scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah, the fucking pig dude looking at him through the window, the footsteps in the fucking snow. Ah.
Well, okay, well, what about Halloween, the actual event? What's some of your favorite all-time costumes?
Bacon.
All-time costumes?
That you've actually worn, Steve.
I put the bacon costume on.
Just to put it on.
No, I didn't wear it. It's my son's. My son is a piece of bacon for Halloween this year. That's.
Your son is a piece of bacon.
Everybody loves bacon.
My go-to costume for Halloween is I go as the dude. Because all you got to do is throw on a bathrobe, be completely unshaven, and find a fucking long-haired wig and have some sunglasses. Throw some fucking, Tevas on or something. You're all good to go. You're the dude.
I just throw my cowboy hat on.
As a kid, come on, guys.
That's what I always did.
As a kid.
As a kid,
I always wanted the cowboy.
The Hulk.
You weren't the dude as a kid.
I was the Hulk.
The Hulk.
The Hulk, motherfucker.
Did you dress as the Hulk at your bar mitzvah?
Nah. What? Yeah.
I always had...
I think, when I was a kid, I think the Hulk, because I was really into the Hulk. I painted everything green, like my dog's dog house was green. I remember my father always tells a story. He's like, I was outside, I was just this little kid, and he made me, like, paint the dog's dog house. And I was sitting outside, and he looks at me, and I was doing something, he says. I don't remember this at all. But I was sitting there, and I was like, he's like, you looked like you were straining into something. And I said, Chris, what are you doing? And you said, I'm hulking out, Dad.
My Halloween costumes as a kid consisted of whatever my mom found at the yard sale during the summer.
I remember one year that me, my friend Eric, and my other friend Tim, we all got convinced by our friend Tracy to dress up like girls. And
I've done that.
We went to her house, and her and another girl named Christina dressed us up the whole friggin' 9 yards. And we went out that night. I think I was around like 15. And we were still going out trick-or-treating.
There is a photograph of me in my high school yearbook. I'm not sure if it's my junior or senior year. I I'm dressed up as Minnie Pearl. If you want to try to look it up on one of the websites, yearbook.com, whatever, 1989 or 1990 Girard High School. It may exist on the internet. I
Oh
don't
boy.
know. I dressed up as Minnie Pearl for Opposite Sex Day for Spirit Week,
You
and somehow that got
That was your go-to.
so Matt,
I'm going Minnie Pearl.
Matt, what was yours?
I had the price tag and everything.
Man, to be honest, I don't have any fond Halloween costume memories. All my Halloween costume memories are horrible. Started back in preschool. I was raised by my great-grandparents, and they were kind of protective of me. Thought I was going to just like fall apart at any given moment. Like if I was playing outside and I started sweating, they'd like make me come inside before I overheat. And so yeah, Halloween preschool, got to wear my costume to school, Batman.
Yes.
You remember the old school costumes that came in a box? You had your plastic mask and your rubber suit.
I'm
you
Batman.
know?
One of those.
And I was Batman, so I was all hyped about it. Well, my great-grandmother decided that the mask covering my face, made of plastic, would cause me to perspire too much and be uncomfortable. So she actually cut the bottom half of the mask off, which would be okay because it's Batman,
Right.
you know, and he just wears a cowl anyway, so...
Right.
But see, that plastic is awfully sharp when it's cut. So now you had this, like, jagged, dangerous thing, like, strapped to my face. So the way to combat that problem was she sent me to preschool with a wash rag folded up, laid across the bridge of my nose and onto my cheeks, and then the mask on top of that. That's the only way I could wear this mask without cutting my face open.
Oh, that's so funny.
And then I get to preschool, and this little son of a bitch has the same costume, only his mask isn't cut up.
No washcloth?
No washcloth. No cut up mask. Same costume. So that was my first Halloween costume memory. Then another year I dressed as Freddy Krueger.
Oh, hey.
And I had to actually kit bash that costume. I couldn't actually go out and get the expensive Freddy Krueger mask and all that. So I had found a hat, like a foam hat that kind of looked like Freddy's hat. And I wore that. And then I had a mask, one of the plastic masks, that was just an old man's face. Not burn up or anything, just an old man. And then my mother actually had a red and green striped sweater like Freddy wore that she let me borrow, only it was more turquoise and mauve colored than red and green, and like had the shoulder pads in it because it was a chick sweater. And then for the glove, because you know the glove is the selling point on any Freddy Krueger costume, I begged and begged and begged. They wouldn't buy me the glove. So I took one of my really cool fingerless gloves that I bought at the fair, and then I cut blades out of pieces of cardboard and wrapped them in aluminum foil and shoved them down in the fingertips of the fingerless gloves, and then scotch taped them onto my fingers.
As you should have.
And that was my Freddy Krueger costume, which I then wore to school for a Halloween function at my school, where everybody that saw me asked who I was. If people have to ask who you are and you're dressed as Freddy Krueger, that is a definite fail.
Yeah.
Well, I can one-up you. It wasn't my costume, but it was my sister's. And one year, we always had a Halloween parade in school. So everybody wore their costumes, and then you went out in the playground and paraded around, and you came back in, whatever. They still do it. So you had to, I think that year they wanted everybody to make their own costumes. So my sister and my mom I think my sister was in like 4th grade, came up with a bright idea of making a mask out of paper mache. And so they made this mask, and it was orange and black, the face, and the thing must have weighed 20 pounds. And my mom attached this black hair wig thing to it and got these little plastic spiders and put them in the hair, and it was my sister had to wear that for like an hour, and it was fucking 20 pounds of paper mache on her head for an hour during this fucking parade at school. And it was the ugliest thing you would ever seen in your life.
Like, what was she supposed to be? Like the most horrible pinata in the world?
Spider lady. That's what they called it, spider lady.
Spider
because
lady.
She had the, you know, those little plastic spider rings that you get at Halloween time.
Sure, yeah.
That's what my mom put in the hair of the fucking thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was the, even as I was like in 3rd grade at the time, and I'm like, there's no way you can wear that thing to school, and she did. You gotta be kidding! I was embarrassed to be around her.
I remember
the worst Halloween mask ever.
The school costume contest in the 5th grade, which I was all excited about because by that time I had a little bit of knowledge under my belt. I got to go to like the magic and costume store and buy like, you know, liquid latex and stuff like that. And I went to school as a zombie. Like I did all my own makeup and everything. So I spent like 2 hours on my makeup at home. We're talking about like, you know, base coats and like doing the liquid latex and then like peeling it away from the skin to make it look like an open wound. Like the whole nine. Like I made like this crust stuff out of baking soda and like covered my hands in it so it looked like my skin was flaking off. I went all out. And I was impressed with my work. As, you know, everybody that saw it was impressed. And like, okay, we're at the costume contest. I'm like, I'm a shoe-in. You know, like, I'm movie quality here in my eyes compared to all these jackasses.
And then in your head you heard, wah, wah, wah.
Exactly. I lost to a cowboy. You know,
Yeehaw.
Which was a person who wore some cowboy boots, a cowboy hat, and like a western vest. And had like the toy gun strapped to the belt. I'm like, how do I lose to accessories?
You lost to...
That's like losing to the bag of jelly beans.
Woody
You always
from
saw
Toy
that.
Story.
The fat chick was always the bag of jelly beans. Where she'd just like take a bunch of colored balloons and saran wrap and I'm a bag of jelly beans. No, you're a fat chick covered in balloons and saran wrap.
One year my mom decided, this is my worst Halloween costume ever. My mom decided to make one for me. I was probably maybe 7, I don't remember. And my stepdad was a welder, so he had these green shirts, you know, that you wear when you're welding. And of course it had all the burn holes and shit in it. And she said, well, that'd make a good Frankenstein shirt. So she made me Frankenstein, and instead of making a mask, swear to God, she took a paper grocery bag, and that was my mask. She cut whole eye holes in it, and that was my mask for this fucking... a paper grocery bag, and this was a church event, I think. And I had to go to church wearing a paper grocery bag over my head and a big giant welding shirt, and I was supposed to be Frankenstein. Yeah.
It's a Charlie.
No fun.
It's a Charlie Brown Halloween.
Yeah.
I think it was worse. It was even worse than anything Charlie Brown ever experienced. I'll tell you what.
Steve.
I'm 7 years old and I'm embarrassed.
Don't you have some news?
News.
News?
Yes.
I have some news. First up, there was a UFO conference, and it was in Leominster, and that's in the UK. Or no, yeah.
I love that cheese.
Actually, Leominster, New England, I think it was. Anyway, so
You let it sit out. Gets all nasty.
if toilet paper is any measure, there could be alien
Then
life
this
out there.
story's shit.
At the New England UFO conference in City Hall.
That's
on
what
Saturday,
happens when you eat old Leo Munster.
Mark D'Antonio used 117 feet of toilet paper to
How many?
illustrate 117 feet of toilet paper to illustrate how long the Earth has been around.
Single
There's
or
enough-
double ply?
There was enough toilet paper to
Charmin.
go around the inside of the City Hall auditorium.
Steve, we need to know these things. I mean, the listeners can't, like, see anything, so we have to paint a picture verbally. Was it single or double ply?
Was it Scott
According-
tissue?
According to the article, it does not say single or double ply, but there is a photograph, and it appears to be double ply.
Okay.
Mr. D'Antonio, one of several speakers at the conference, then explained that the 0.0001 millimeters of the paper would
Chance that this story doesn't suck.
the amount of time humans have been on the planet. The
I saw
fact
these
was
strange
a
lights
way of explaining the
shaking
chance
like
of
a roll
life
of
developing
paper.
on other planets in the universe is pretty good. The conference drew more than 170 people from as far away as North Carolina to hear some of the most prominent UFO speakers in the country talk about incidents and investigations into unidentified flying objects. Some came having seen what they believe were UFOs, others with a heavy dose of skepticism. There were no aliens, other than 2 plastic blow-up replicas that members of the Mutual UFO Network had set up in the City Hall entryway. The only people in costume were children who wandered in with their parents while
And a homeless man asking for the roll of toilet paper.
while out in the city's downtown Halloween stroll. But there were books, government reports, and other items available for purchase. The
That
event
sounds
was
like the most horrible UFO conference ever.
The event was organized by Steve Fermani of Leominster, who has worked as a UFO investigator. Mr. Fermani said that the Leominster area has been a hotbed of UFOs and listed several incidents reported in the past few years in Leominster and Pittsburgh.
That's what put it on the map.
The event attracted people like Jessica Fitz of Barrington, New Hampshire, who said she wanted to learn more about UFOs and UFO investigations. Ms. Fitz said this was her first UFO convention. I've always
This is my
been
first time.
interested
Be
in the
easy.
subject, she said. Ms.
That's why we have
Fitz,
the
a
toilet
graphic
paper.
artist who works in video production and special effects makeup, said what got her interested were 2 incidents she witnessed that she cannot explain. The first thing she saw was a flashing red and white object that moved so oddly she ruled out it being a satellite, an airplane, or anything else which she is familiar with. A couple of months ago, she said she was driving on Route 4 in Concord, New Hampshire, when she looked to the left and saw a large cylindrical object low in the sky about 200 feet from the ground. It had flashing lights. It just hovered there, she said. It was crazy.
It was a rave.
Miss Fitz said she tried to figure out what else it could have been, but nothing made sense.
They were all taking Molly.
Things like that just blow my mind, she said.
So
Many of those
that's what the kids are
attendants
taking
said they
these
became-
days, Steve, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, many of those attending said they became interested while being a bit skeptical.
And then they all did
Allison-
bath salts.
Allison Spinelli of Simsbury, Connecticut is not one of them. She has never seen a UFO, been abducted, or even seen something that had a slight chance of being
So
a
why
UFO.
was she there?
But she's a serious believer. I can't
That's
even
why
tell
she
you
was
why I
there,
believe, she said.
Matt. She's a serious believer.
She's a serious believer.
Mrs. Spinelli's husband, Marco, is the exact opposite.
Hello.
He was... You said hold up. He was not particularly thrilled.
What
to
was
be
her
there.
husband's name?
Mr. Spinelli's husband's name was Marco.
Polo.
Oh, you said Polo. I see. I thought you said hold up. That's why I went quiet. He was not particularly thrilled to be there, but was attending to support his wife's interest.
That made the article. That's how shitty of a conference it was. That, like, this lady dragged her husband to this thing, and, like, he's miserable, but he went to appease her, and that makes the article.
Other speakers at the event included author and aerospace engineer Robert Schroeder, Kathleen Martin, granddaughter of Betty and Barney Hill, who were reportedly abducted in New Hampshire, and Steve Pierce, a witness to the Travis Walton abduction. And in our next story, we have Bigfoot in Maine. And this is from Waterville, Maine.
Hiya.
Maine, New Hampshire?
Hiya.
Maine, Waterville, Maine.
Hiya.
Oh, Maine, Connecticut.
This is from the
Massachusetts?
Bangor Daily News. Daily
New
News.
England?
Daily News.
Are people from Maine called Maynards?
No.
What are they called?
I don't know what we're called.
Mainers. In the same month, the Statue of Liberty was dedicated in New York in 1886. A handful of newspapers in New English published stories about a deadly encounter in the Maine woods involving what today likely would be termed Bigfoot.
A barefoot
or
Bigfoot
Sasquatch.
researcher? Or supposed Bigfoot researcher?
The story of a 10-foot tall wild man with 7-foot-long arms and hair growing all over his face and body was reported in broadsheets of the time. After first gracing the pages of the Waterville Sentinel, a weekly paper that no longer exists. The Waterville Morning Sentinel was
10
established
feet
15
tall.
years later in 1904.
7-foot arms.
Tales of these seldom-seen, mysterious ape-like beasts are found in Maine folklore, according to experts, but they are more prevalent in California, Washington, and Oregon tales. Online searches
You
yield
can't get
hundreds
there
of
from here.
similar stories from around the globe. The main story starts in early October of 1886 when a frightened Frenchman from over the line, I'm assuming that means Canada, arrived in the Elm City to weave a frightening tale of woe, according to an
Yes, the
expert from the
Canadians
Sentinel,
plague us much like the mosquitoes.
published in at least 2 other papers of the era, the Wilton Record and the Industrial Journal of Bangor. The Frenchman's story, which is
Bangor?
implicitly believed, is that 3 men were camping out in the woods about 100
And a
miles
baby.
north of Moosehead Lake, the 127-year-old newspaper article state.
How do you get to Moosehead Lake?
Practice.
You can't get there from here.
Oh, whoops, wrong joke.
2 of the campers were away from the camp for a week and came back to find a dead body of their companion.
Well, they left their companion in the woods out in the middle of nowhere for like weeks.
The unnamed storyteller.
It must be a
possibly-
10-foot tall, 7-foot armed, hairy creature that did it.
The unnamed storyteller, possibly a Canadian,
On the telly.
had his fellows in town all by the ears with the story about the giant wild man he encountered in the dense woods above Moosehead, according to
You heard about that giant wild man, eh? It's probably what killed your friend, eh?
When he and the other
Wanna have a
campers
beer, Ray?
discovered their friend was dead, they searched out others to form a posse to find his killer. They went for help and, reinforced by a dozen others, searched the woods for the unknown murderer.
There's a Bigfoot out there. Get a rope.
It proved to be a terrible wild man, 10 feet tall with arms 7 feet in length, covered with long brown hair. The party fired several shots at him and finally succeeded in reaching a fatal spot, laying the monster low.
They learned later that it was just his pubic hair had overgrown and covered his entire body.
Feet like kayaks.
Newspapers of the era used few images, and none of the articles had accompanying sketches of the wild man. The Sentinel story was picked up by a few other newspapers under the terms of interest category, and 2 days later, the same article appeared in the Industrial Journal, a weekly newspaper in Bangor that was devoted to the manufacturing, commercial, and agricultural railway, steamship, hotel, summer resort, and fish and game interest of the Northeast. Holy cow, that was a long sentence.
With 7-foot arms, it would take him like 10 minutes to clap.
He could have auditioned for the Serpent and the Rainbow.
Like, I want to be in the scene where he's reaching.
Anyway, that was the main story. And our final story tonight.
So the point of the main story was all of that is based on because a Canadian said so?
Canadian said so.
Got it.
psychic bus driver, this is from the Huffington Post, a psychic bus driver is fired for refusing to pick up school
Now,
kids.
you think he'd know that he was going to be fired?
Well, let's find out.
You would think he would know to get a better job.
Yeah.
I bet he never saw this coming. An allegedly psychic bus driver in Dundee, Scotland, has been fired after refusing to pick up some school kids. The unidentified driver told his bosses that he had a good reason for leaving the kids by the side of the road. Apparently, he is clairvoyant and sensed that something would go wrong if he didn't keep driving, the Daily Record reported. Apparently, he had no such premonition about his job prospects. His employer, National Express, fired him after learning about the situation and the reasoning behind it.
I wonder if it had anything to do with the 4 pints he had before he left for work.
The driver plans to appeal the decision, but didn't tell the paper if it would be successful. I just understood what they meant, because, see, he's psychic.
See what they did there?
Yeah,
See
yeah.
that?
You see that little twist there, Steve?
Predictably, school officials such as Stuart Hunter, the Dundee City Council's education convener, I got it, are happy with the company's decision to fire the driver. It's important for kids to be able to get to school on time. If the bus doesn't stop, then that's something that would concern me, he told the Express. It's good National Express has taken action, and I'm sure they would be concerned, too, about kids not being picked up. The driver's decision to ignore one of the most basic tenets of his job, picking people up, is being ridiculed by many, but he is getting some support from fellow alleged clairvoyants. Ewan Irvin, a spiritual medium at the Arthur Conan Doyle Center in Edinburgh. Although I don't know much about the case itself, it's entirely possible that the man had a psychic sense something bad was going to happen, Irving told Deadline News. Speaking from personal experience, I know that when I get that weird, edgy feeling, I normally listen to it because it means that something is going to happen, whether it's good or bad. Rather be safe than...
I know when I get that itchy feeling, I need
Maybe
to pick up some
that's the
preparation
deal.
H.
Maybe he was clairvoyant that he was going to make that decision and get fired.
That is the news, fellas. But I do like that one line in that story. The driver plans to appeal the decision, but didn't tell the paper if it would be successful. I'm sorry, that cracked me up when I read
Uh,
Did you get tickled, Steve?
it. Because he's psychic, see, he should know whether or not...
yeah, we get it.
I thought you did.
If I were psychic, I would have a better state of employment than a school bus driver.
Well, maybe he makes, money on the side being psychic. Or maybe the school bus driving is his side job. Maybe he just wants to be a public servant.
Or maybe
while he's being a psychic.
the show is over.
Kill it.
Thank God.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Dress up.
Halloween.
Give out candy.
As bacon.
Don't put any razor blades in it.
Don't hand out bacon.
Don't give out bacon.
If people hand it... Wow, you wrote we have to start the news at 9:54. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah. But yes, this was, and is, and will be the Fortean Slip. Thank you for listening. And as always, thank you to DreadFun, youtube.com/Dread, DREDFUNN.
Dread Fun rocks.